ठीक है. So quick introduction about myself first of all. So I have worked in the data analytics domain for over 7 years now, and I've recruited a lot of people within my team also. So with experience from Uber, Zomato, and Deloitte, I've understood what is the need of a data analytics role, and accordingly, we've created these slides and the process that I'll be explaining to you guys, so that it's something that you all are aware of, and you can keep in mind when attempting interviews, right? So let me start by first of all talking about the skills that are needed. And throughout your course on data analytics that you've spent a couple of months studying, right? You've already covered most important skills. First being SQL, followed by Excel and Google Sheets. And that's something, when we talk about Google Sheets and Excel, so the expectation is that not just the basic formulas, but you also know the advanced stuff of how to create a dashboard out of it, right? And you all have already practiced all of that. So these are two very important skills that, especially from freshers, are expected that they will know a good level of SQL and Excel. Then we come to Python, right? So Python or R depends on the company which is hiring, but more often than not, Python is the preferred skill. And I think you've done proper EDA also. You're well aware of libraries like Pandas and NumPy, since they are the most important libraries in Python for a data analyst to work upon. Then we move on to statistics and probability. So I think that's also something that you guys are already aware of. Now, the expectation or why should you know statistics is important, because when you're looking at different data points, it's, how do you read it? How do you understand the metric? How do you deep dive into the data? So z-scores and, all those statistical terms help you create insights out of the data points that you already worked on, right? So these are the main technical skills that you should know. Then we move on to data visualization. In the industry, when I look at the job roles that are out there that are available, so either Tableau or Power BI are the two most common data visualization tools that are asked for the expectation is that the data analyst would know at least one of these two tools. So I personally think that Tableau has a lot more variety to offer, but knowing even Power BI can be an advantage. Then we move on to problem solving, and that's something that we're going to focus on today also. In the interview process, not just technical skills, but also your business acumen will be tested. People will want to know, if given a problem, will you be able to solve it end to end or not? Right. So the job of a data analyst is not, limited to working with data. You are very much a stakeholder in the problem solving. Right. You will contribute, because you know the data very well. So you will be contributing to problems like, we should look at this metric for a certain XYZ problem, or maybe, instead of this metric, let's take a different viewpoint while solving the problem. Right. So that is why it's a very crucial aspect that is covered in the interviews also. Now, all these things are tested in three different formats. First being the case studies. Case studies, we'll deep dive into the different types in a minute. Then comes guesstimates, and then comes puzzles. So puzzles are something that are important, right? But they might not be focusing too much on the puzzles bit, but there's a lot of content out there available on the internet as well. Just take a look. There's some very simple puzzles like, you have two buckets. One is 3 liters, one is 5 liters. You have to finally get 4 liters of water. So how do you utilize the two available containers to get that amount? So this is an example of a puzzle. Now, why would I ask a person a puzzle? It's just to understand how do they think. You might not get to the final answer, but at least if you explain to me your approach properly, I will get a gist of how much, how hardworking you are, first of all, because people, a lot of times just leave the problems, but you shouldn't do that. You should always attempt it, try out some basic structure, and then explain it to the interviewer. Okay. I hope there are no doubts here, at least in the skills required. If you all have any doubts, just unmute yourself and let me know. No? Great. Then comes the interview process. Now, this may not be applicable to all companies, but this is how usually the process goes for a lot of the companies. It starts with the screening process. That is why the resumes that you build are very important, right? If I'm hiring somebody and I do not see the relevant skills, I do not see relevant experience or relevant projects in the resume, I am not going to shortlist that person or that profile, and I will reject them at that screening step itself. So ensure that your resume includes all the points that I just mentioned, and that will help you get shortlisted, and you can at least get a fair chance and sit for the interview process, and show your skills in the interviews. Then comes the test. Now, some companies don't even have a test. They directly start with the round one of interview. But some companies do have this intermediate step of a test. It could be an aptitude-based test, like they're testing your general knowledge, or they're testing your just aptitude in general, right? Other than that, technical skills are very common, where you have SQL or Python questions given. Some may even ask Excel related questions, and then you have to solve within a time frame. Then third is the case studies. Case studies may some companies have started doing take home assignments. So they'll give you a problem statement, they'll give you a couple of hours or like 1 day, 2 day, and then you have to work on that and then present your final output with the company. So this is similar to what you did in the graduation project. It may not be as intense, right? Because there you have to do a lot of things. It may not be as in depth, but it will be structured in a manner that it tests your technical skills as well as your business acumen and how you approach the problem, how your presentation skills are. Because finally, you will be submitting a report. Hence, the presentation skill becomes very important. Now, depending on the company, there could be 2 to 3 technical rounds. Now, technical rounds, of course, they'll test technical skills, right? Whether it's SQL, Python, Guesstimate, Excel, etc. But one of the main things is questions related to your resumes and your projects. This is something that happens always, right? They're going to focus on what you've written in your resume. So, a couple of things to remember: do not lie on your resume, right? Do not talk about projects that you haven't worked on or you don't have any idea about, because you will be cross-questioned. So, at least whatever is written in the resume, go over it very well. Explain to the, you should know it to a level that you're able to explain and answer each and every question related to your resume. Right? And project B, if you've written there, then you should know inside out. Why have you picked up such a project? What was the purpose? What was the problem statement? Or what was the end goal of the project? And how did you approach it? What were the metrics you thought of? And sometimes they might even ask what are some additional metrics you could have checked, right? So there's a lot of counter questioning related to whatever is mentioned in your resume. So rest assured, you should be like, this is a no-brainer. You have to know what you're writing in your resume. Do not lie. So once you're done with these technical rounds, they'll move you on to the cultural round with the HR, and then sometimes background checks also happen depending on the company. Okay. Okay. Now this is something interesting. Okay. Primary focus of data analytics. Now here, I'm going to take the example of Zomato and explain to you how we would utilize data analytics to tackle these 4 major problems. Essentially, what I've done is I've taken the major business problems that we have and categorized them into 4 different headings. And then, how can I deal with them and how can data analytics help me answer questions related to some problems. First, let's talk about understanding the customer behavior. Okay. So what is the main purpose of Zomato? It's to provide food, right? It's a food aggregator, so there are lots of restaurants there and there are lots of customers present on the platform. Now, every customer is different, right? There are customers who love applying promo codes and are influenced by how much discount a restaurant is offering. Whereas there will be customers who are not at all influenced by promo codes. If they have to order, they will place an order irrespective of the value of the order, right? So this is one example of how they would segregate their customer base into different cohorts, right? So just like I gave you an example of promo, right, affinity to applying a promo code or discount coupon at the end of an order. Similarly, people may have different user personas. Some will order low amount only, some will order very high value. If you all would have noticed, Zomato Pay very recently, they gave you a recap of 2024, and they also showed you guys how, they give you some tags basically. If you ordered very low order values, like 100, 200 rupee orders, then they also give you something like a cheap order or something. They were making fun of people, but it was all in good faith. So all of that is based on insights from their historical data, right? How your order journey has been, how your order trends have been. So basis that customer behavior is understood, customer cohorts are created, and basis that you want to cater to every cohort, every customer, so you will create differentiation between what you offer. Okay. So for example, there are 2 people. Going back to the promo code example, I'm somebody who uses promo codes very often, so I will be shown maybe a higher discount compared to you. Okay, so the restaurant menu will not change, the restaurant prices will not change. But in order to get me to place that order, they will maybe give me some additional discount. Okay, so that is how you're understanding the customer behavior, understanding what the customer wants, and accordingly providing them additional nudge to go ahead and finally place that order. Have you guys understood what I was trying to explain here, and how data analytics plays a picture over how plays a part here in understanding the customer behavior? Yes, no? No? Okay, great. Okay. Now understanding product usage. So first of all, within Zomato's purview also, there are multiple different products. And of course, Zomato is a different, Zomato is one application and Blinkit is one application, but I didn't mean Zomato and Blinkit. Within Zomato itself, we have small categorizations of products. For example, Zomato Gold, right? It's a service that provides you free delivery, right? That is one product. Second is, why don't you all open the Zomato app? All of you, those who have worked on or who all order from Zomato, I want you to open the application. And in fact, you guys suggest me what would be considered a product over there. Let's all do that quickly. Has everybody opened the application, Zomato app? Do you guys see an explore rail over there? I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but there's an option for every day. There is an option for gourmet, brand packs, then healthy, and then food on train, gift cards. Do you see all of these small different bifurcations created?
Yes.
Yeah. So essentially, what are these? These are nothing but different products within Zomato, right? So there's a team that deals with every day. There's a team that deals with, food on train, etc. So now we have to understand which product is working for us, which product is not working for us. So there would be product metrics that are followed. If you are introducing a new feature, right? If you're introducing, say, we had this one thing, I don't know where you all are located, but in Delhi and in Bangalore, they introduced a concept of 20 minutes delivery of food also. This was way back. So there, they created some intermediate places where they would store some food from popular restaurants and store items and dishes that were high in demand. And then they would, send out they created like a Blinkit store for food. And then they would quickly be able to deliver the food. So that was something that they tried. Now, it didn't work out very well, right? But at least they got insights, what are customers liking, what are the features that are appealing to the customers, right? Then they also keep on trying a couple of new things. Initially, offers used to be available on the outer page itself. Then they moved and created an offers section alag se, and then they moved all the restaurants or all the different kinds of deals that were available inside the offer section. So that is something from a product standpoint. And that's a change that they implemented. Now, they also need to assess, right, if it is working fine or not. So how would you do that? The very first thing is using the A/B testing, right? If they have implemented some change on the application, they would do an A/B testing. They would launch it for few customers, while for few customers, it will still be on the previous feature page of previous structure itself. Then they will try to understand the adoption very well. Okay. Are people responding well to it? Has it impacted our orders? Have we lost any order because of that? So they will do a pre and post analysis for TG and CG. So how many of you understand what A/B testing is, first of all? If you understand, just write a yes. Yeah. So A/B testing here. Okay. So there's one person who said, okay, A/B testing में क्या है? So say you have 100 users, you will divide these users into two components, take it into two parts. One will be your target group or your test group, sorry, and the other will be your normal, मतलब जो as it is business as usual चलता रहेगा उनके लिए, ठीक है? So TG and CG, there are two groups. Now, if I am implementing this new feature, what I'll do is I will apply this feature and I will show it only to my TG, and I will continue using or showing the application as it is for my CG folks. Okay, now what we'll do is we will track all metrics for both our CG and both our TG. अगर टीजी वाले ग्रुप के लिए वी हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड अ ड्रॉप इन आवर नॉर्मल मेट्रिक्स, जैसे जोमैटो के लिए बेसिक चीज, सबसे बेसिक मेट्रिक हो गया नंबर ऑफ ऑर्डर्स, right? If they have observed that the TG is not responding as per usual, or there has been a drop in the TG, then that feature that we introduced will be rolled back and we will not push it forward, right? Whereas when we talk about CG, when we talk about the other case where your TG has seen a big uplift in orders, right? Then what we'll do is we will roll out this for the entire platform. Even the CG people will start seeing those same features going forward, right? So you're doing like a beta test on a smaller user base to assess how would that impact your customers. Okay. Now, all of this testing will be done through data, right? There's an experiment that has been run. The analysis will be done by a data analyst. Similarly, feature adoption kaisa hai, other even orders, even all that tracking, everything will be done by a data analyst. Okay. Now, I just want to take a minute. Why I'm explaining all of this? I mean, this is related to an interview prep session, right? Then why am I explaining all of this? I want you guys to make a habit of start exploring the applications. Okay. Even though I worked in Zomato, so I am aware of a couple of things, but what I do something very carefully is observe all the apps. That this is my process. If I'm opening Amazon, where am I going next? I'm on the homepage. What am I pressing next? What is it that I'm seeing? Is it something different from what I used to see before? Right. So these kind of things, these kinds of changes that you're able to observe on the app is something. There's a whole team sitting behind and performing any change. right? It helps you become a better analyst when you understand the product. Essentially, for Uber, the app is the product. Similarly, for Zomato, the app is the product, right? For Amazon also, you are buying different products. But from Amazon's perspective, there are merchants who are selling their products. There are customers who are buying their products, right? But essentially, for Amazon, the product is the app or the web page, right? So, from a data analyst perspective, also we have to understand the product side. We have to understand what are the business goals of the company, and accordingly, we have to recommend things from our perspective also. Like I said, we are very much a stakeholder within the company's business problem solving part. Okay, so yeah, getting back to this slide. So now talking about increasing operational efficiency. So we saw a couple of products were there available in the Zomato app. One such product was Legends. So Legends was a product where they used to bring in or provide specialities from different states, and they could send it to you, right? So like I'm sitting in Gurgaon today, so they could get me Jaipur's famous Rawat Kachori. The next day, some biryani from Hyderabad I could get in a couple of hours. So all of that was handled by the Legends team. Now, ultimately, when I want to continue a sub product, right? I want to continue investing in Legends. I want to ensure that at least I'm getting the ROI that I want. I'm at least making profit out of it, or not even that. If I'm at least breaking even, right? It's possible that some customers are transacting on my app just because of that Legends product, and they may not, it may not be a heavy money maker, but at least my customers are coming. When all of hell goes away, right? Like it just does not make any sense in terms of revenue. Then how do you improve your business? You decide to shut it. Right? So you have to look at different aspects. You have to look at engagement, how much revenue it's bringing in, how many new users is it bringing in, what is the maybe daily users or stuff like that. So then, if it is not making financial sense to me, I'm going to close that business. Right. So now you don't see Legends anymore on the app because it was not making financial sense. Giving another example of operational efficiency. Similarly, if we talk about a manufacturing company, right, where there's a lot of inventory that needs to be maintained, there are lots of shifts that people work in. All of that, there could be an analyst who's sitting there and suggesting that maybe instead of 3 shifts, you can work in 2 shifts only. If we add additional assembly line and XYZ would be my revenue, my impact on the revenue, we would end up saving so much. Right? So essentially, that analyst is suggesting a model through which we can improve the operational efficiency. Right, so this happens continuously. Sometimes manufacturing companies call consultants from outside. Sometimes they hire analysts within the company who will be working on ways to improve the operational efficiency. Ways to cut down additional expense, ways to cut down excessive time or extra resources that are being spent on some one little thing. But the ROI is not that high. Hence, it's an important aspect, and we can categorize one of the business problems under increasing the operational efficiency. Now, moving on, business model innovation. Within Zomato only, the gold product, a couple of years back, pre-COVID, the gold was a different kind of product altogether. It was more dining focused. Like you could go out to pubs or to restaurants and you could get one-on-one free drinks or buy 2 get 2 on food items. So those were the kind of things that the gold subscription was offering. Then COVID hit, everybody stopped going out, and people were just ordering in. So during COVID, Zomato observed, and by the end of COVID, in fact, not during COVID also, Zomato understood that the trend had changed, the pattern had changed. People were now more focused on ordering food online, and to cater to that now, because there is a competition, right? There's Swiggy also, which is very extensive when it comes to discounts and offering Swiggy One subscription. So now Zomato had to reinvent their own gold subscription, and they came up with this new feature where new kind of model where they were offering free delivery. They were also ordering on-time guarantee. So they introduced some new features in that gold subscription. So essentially, they picked up a subscription product. They innovated the product into something completely different by understanding how the customers were responding and what was the customer ask. Right. So essentially, it's business model innovation, right? So again, some data analysts were sitting there suggesting all these things, working on the data that we needed, observing trends that there's a big uptick in the orders that is happening. So that is how an analyst gets involved. Okay, is this clear?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So talking about types of data analytics. Now there are 4 major categories. First is descriptive. So descriptive में क्या होता है कि you are understanding what has happened in the past. There is no issue per se. Maybe you're trying to come up with a new product, so it's not an issue, right? There's everything is working fine. You just want to focus on growth, or you just want to analyze, and observe that abhi tak jo hua hai, how has that worked for you. So you're just understanding what has happened. So maybe there's a retail store for which you're trying to understand the sales data, the order data, from which channel, if there's a merchant who's selling online also. So that person is trying to understand the split between online and offline orders, just so that they can do some capacity planning or inventory planning for future. So they're just understanding the data. Then we come to diagnostic. Diagnostic में क्या है? There is some or the other issue that has happened, and now you need to dive deeper into data and understand how can you improve it. right? What has caused the issue, first of all? Then secondly, what can you do to prevent it, right? Say Amazon not just Amazon, but some other app, there's sudden drop in orders, there's sudden drop in app opens or something. So now you will have to go and understand what could have caused this issue. When we move on to RCA problems, you will understand how do we deal with diagnostic data analytics. Then comes predictive. So you're using the historic data to make predictions for the future. The weather forecast system is a very good example of predictive model, where based on say precipitation is this, humidity is this in the environment, right? There's no sun. So basis the previous data from say a couple of years, from a decade or something, they will make prediction that this is what's going to happen now, right? If certain circumstances are met, most likely rain is going to occur on that day. And if when we talk about prescriptive, you are analyzing the data and also recommending the actions in real time. So again, your navigation apps like Google Apps, Apple Maps, right? Google Maps and Apple Maps. So all of those are examples of prescriptive data analytics. Okay. So now we're going to start with case studies. Is Harshit there?
Yeah, I can.
Hi. Okay. So guys, what we're going to do is we'll take a minute and we're going to work on a mock interview for you guys, a mock case study run. Just give me 1 second. I'll have quick water and then. Yes. Okay. So first of all, quickly, what RCA is. There is some issue that has happened, and now we have to analyze and diagnose the problem in a structured manner. Okay. So for our mock interview, we are taking this as an example where there's a sharp drop that has been observed in orders for Amazon India in the last 2 days. Now, I will identify the possible causes. Okay. So I'm going to take a minute quickly. I'm going to just, gather my thoughts and I'm going to note down a couple of points that I feel might be contributing to this drop. Okay. All right. So before I move on to the structure, I have a couple of clarifying questions, Harshit.
Okay.
So when we talk about this drop, whether this was a week over week drop or day over day drop?
You can consider week over week for this thing.
Okay. We are talking about Amazon India. So was it located in particular locality or region, or is it across India that you observed?
Across India, yeah. We are seeing it across India.
Okay. Okay. Then any product category that was impacted particularly, or again, this is also for the entire platform?
No, I don't think so. It's across all the categories, Amazon as a whole.
Okay. And another thing, since there is, for Amazon, there is a web page as well as an application, right? So is
Correct.
it pertaining to a certain thing or both?
Both app as well as website.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. So based on what I've understood, let me come up with a structure of how I would analyze the impact now.
Sure.
Okay. So I want to break down the problem and I want to look at 3 major factors that could be contributing to this. First could be external factors. That could be, some new competition has come up, or there are some, sales or campaigns that competition is running. For example, Flipkart would be running a big billion day sale. Then next would be if any new features went live, right? If there are some technical issues that were launched, or technical features that were launched 2 to 3 days back, because of which we are observing some glitches or bugs and our orders are dropping. And third would be understanding the user journey from the app open till the final order placement to identify, at what point are the users not able to, or at what point are the users dropping.
Got it. Yeah.
So if the structure is fine, then.
Yeah, it's fine. Would you like to go ahead with any one of them?
Yeah, so I'll begin with the user journey itself, because that will give me a hint of, where to focus more on. So I'm dividing the user journey for Amazon. First is the homepage. Okay. Then the user would ideally move into the category page where they're seeing the listings and the products that are available. Then the user is going to add items to the cart after they're finalized. And finally, they would place the orders. So there are 4 different steps here. So can you tell me if, there was a particular point, there's a particular point in the journey where we have observed drops?
So I'll start with the first step. Our daily active users, monthly active users are constant. I've not seen any drop over there. moving to the category page, I don't think so we have made or introduced any new category or removed any new category. So that also stays almost consistent. The catalog to cart conversion also stays the same. People are adding their orders in the cart. I think the drop is in the next step where there are products in the cart, but they are not able to place those orders. So some drop is seen over there.
Okay, understood. Okay, so after a user builds a cart, essentially there are 3 or 4 things that they can do. First is they can apply the discount. Second is that if their delivery charges, we've increased any delivery charges that can influence people not finally placing the order. Third could be if there are any technical issues, of course. And fourth would be the payment gateways, right? There could be an issue with the payment gateway, whether it is card or UPI or particular any type of payment. So can you tell me if any of them has been changed recently?
Discounts, no. Whatever discounts you're providing earlier, almost the same. And same for the delivery charges. No changes as such.
And we are sure that there's no competition also running any campaigns like Big Billion Day or something?
Yeah, no, it's done or everything has been already done. So,
okay.
Correct. And I think your third point was regarding what?
One was technically any new features launched recently in...
Not really. We launched it about a month back. So recently there has been no launch.
Okay. Then what about payment gateways?
Payment gateways, yeah. I think we do have few bank partnerships, which contributes majority of the Amazon payments. So we are seeing a bit of a drop over there that people are not able to go ahead and purchase their orders, maybe because of some system errors through banks only, from bank side.
Okay, got it. So I think we've identified the issue. Then it's in the payment gateways. Now, for further analysis, I would need more data to understand which bank is, maybe there's an issue with the payment. So I think we've at least identified the root cause that was causing the drop.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, great. Okay. So now, did you all also try to attempt this problem statement? And at least did you understand how we approached such a question? Yes. So let's talk more about the same problem. The very first thing that I did was I asked some clarifying questions, right? Of course, one of the things that I did not ask was data sanity, but that's a good question to ask. If there are, where we are fetching the data from, right? Is the analytics tool correct? Is everything maintained properly, right? If there is an issue in how we are fetching the data itself, then whatever insights we get out of it is not going to be right. Then the second thing I asked was if the drop has been observed week over week or day over day or month over month, right? So that's another good aspect to understand since, the comparison point basis which we are saying that the drop has occurred. Then another question I asked was if for a product like Amazon, right, which also has a web page and an application, I want to understand if it was pertaining to the app only or if it is occurring in both or if it is related to website, right? Because the issues and the problems faced in both will be very different from one another. So in this scenario, in this question, the data sanity is maintained, the issue has occurred, week over week numbers have basically gone down. And when you're talking about week over week, we're essentially comparing this week's Monday compared to previous week's Monday. Okay, so all of that is being compared. And then we understood that the issue is in app and website both, right? So when we are talking about app and website both, it means that maybe there was no app release that is causing the issue, right? So that one aspect we have eliminated by asking this question. Then I was of course checking for external factors because sometimes there could be a new competitor that has entered the market that could lead to dispersion of your or cannibalization of your customers to a different new competitor, right? So I'll give you an example. Like Ola and Uber are two big competitors in the market, but then suddenly Rapido also came as the third competitor when they launched their cab rides also, right? So there was definitely some cannibalization that happened over there because we got a third competitor in the market. So that could be one reason, right? Then if competition is running any campaigns. Now, in this scenario, that was not the case, but sometimes, when they are launching some new, all of a sudden they've launched some new campaign, very big sales, that could also lead to your orders dropping off, right? And third could be bad press, of course, what people are talking. If the sentiment is bad about the company, then people will not want to, buy from you overall, because the sentiment is not good. Okay, then we talk about some demographic impacts also. If there is a region or locality that has been impacted, if within India, I would have identified that East May orders have dropped, then I would focus on some seasonality aspects as well, right? If rains are happening, deliveries are getting delayed, that could be one of the cause that, customer feedback has gone down and so on and so forth. So that could be one reason. Then product categories. Since in this scenario, it was across all product categories, so we didn't really find any thing from this, but sometimes it could be that there are inventory issues, some warehouse got impacted, so now everything is coming out of stock for that company, right? And then customer base level is also a good parameter to consider when we are talking about demographic impacts. Maybe there's a particular gender from which people are not really responding well to this site, or they're not placing orders, or there's an age group, right? Then in technical issues, of course, we can understand if it was related to app, we would have bifurcated to iOS and Android, and we would have seen if any new releases happened. Then second was if there are any design changes. Now here, let me give you an example of design changes. For example, WhatsApp had revamped their app quite well last year, I think, a couple of months back, basically. And for us people, it's still easier to get a hang of iOS of WhatsApp, whether it's on iOS or on Android. But when we talk about elderly people, right, it's not easy for them to adapt to changes in technology. So suddenly the usage had dropped a little. That was because primarily they changed the design of the app. Right, so you have to consider all the things when you're launching some new features in the app. Then if there are any technical glitches, say I'm trying to press a button and it's just not going forward, then that could have caused this. And then app shutdowns happen. App downtime happens all the time. Now, if app downtime has happened, you really can't do anything about it. You can't solve it, but at least you've identified what had caused the issue. Then comes the user journey and the funnel analysis. And more often than not, this is what will give you the answer to where exactly you should focus on in the user journey, right, on the app. And this will help you find that root cause. So what I did was in my user journey, when I started off with the homepage. In fact, when you guys should think about it, right? What do you do when you go on the Amazon app? You go on the homepage, then you select the category you want to shop in, or you find some deals you want to look at, right? So then there is a section that you go into. Then you're browsing the products, you're going down, scrolling. Sometimes you might just directly search for the product. So all of these, just FYI, is stored in the backend, right? There is an event for every action that you perform on the app or the web page that gets stored in the data. So you can utilize it to fetch some metric. So from my homepage, are my users going to some category pages, right? Are my search volumes the same or not? If there is an issue there itself, then we will have to look at why people, my daily users are dropping, why my search volumes have gone down. Then that is the piece where we would focus on. Then the next thing would be my search to catalog, right? If I'm searching, maybe there is some technical issue because of which I'm not able to actually go to the catalog. But if all of that is fine, then I don't need to focus on that. Then once I've gone to the catalog, am I able to add items to the cart? If that is consistent, we are good. Otherwise, we'll have to look at some menu issues. Again, there could be some technical issue because of which items are not getting added. Then finally, we got to cart to order conversion. And again, I split it into 3 or 4 points where, we were looking at discounts, we were looking at delivery charges, we were looking at payment gateways. So essentially, what I was remembering is what all do I do? What all do I see on the web page or the app when I finally go to, place the order? Even though I've added items to my cart, there is still, 3-4 options that come to me after applying this after adding items to the cart, right? So here we identified the issue was in the payment gateway, and in the payment gateway also UPI wallets were working fine, but there were issue with the bank sites which caused the drop. There was a issue with conversion at that last. Okay, so is this step and is this step clear to you all? Like how did we go? How did we break down the user journey and then identify where the issue could be lying for order drops? Yes, no? Guys, you can hear me, right?
Folks, do give us a yes or a thumbs up if you're clear with this, or else let us know if you have any questions.
Yes, yes.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. So now this is one of the most important type of RCA problems, and in the interviews also, when the interviewer is testing for case studies, they will ask you questions similar to this. So you need to incorporate. Now, of course, we didn't maybe need to focus on so many parameters, but since I broke down everything into smaller chunks, it just implies that I understand what the product is and I'm able to figure out and look at different aspects. Right. So that is how it is advantageous to consider as many points as you can. So what does a good answer look like when you are attempting a case study? First of all, you should follow a proper structure. Right? Sometimes you're focusing on metric that is at the beginning. Sometimes you're focusing on metric that will come at the end of the user journey. Then that is a very clumsy way of attempting a case study. Right? You should always try and follow a proper structure. First, list down. First of all, I ask the clarifying questions. Right? So you have to understand the issues. Right? You have to understand the common issues that can occur in that business. And if you're not aware of how the business works, you can ask more questions to the interviewer just to get an understanding of the business, of how this particular business use case works. Then third thing is understanding the market trends. And fourth is do not make any assumptions, right? At every point, you should just ensure that only deal with the data that is in front of you. Or if you have a doubt, ask a question to clarify. And don't make your questions very random. Make them very, particular. Or maybe, if I'm asking about month over month or week over week change. So that's a better way of phrasing the question instead of saying, give me a time frame within which the drop has happened. Right? So that also shows that you have understanding of certain metrics also. Okay, so approach would be you're asking your clarifying questions. You can pause to reflect. So you can take a moment, list down have a pen and paper with you. You can make a list of metrics that you want to consider while discussing your approach. Then you can also identify the major buckets, like categorize your potential root causes into major buckets. Now, what will that help you do? It will help you eliminate the unlikely causes, right? So when I ask questions like if it is pertaining to a particular region or particular category, so it is just helping me, eliminate the reasons that could influence those things. And then finally, you deep dive into that whole structure, right? Focus on the most likely buckets and then investigate further to pinpoint the root cause. So then when you're clarifying the questions, understand when and where the problem started, right? So understanding since when. So in this question, we of course had in the Amazon question, we had mentioned that, the drop is happening since the past 2 days, but sometimes they'll be just giving you a statement that we observed a drop in orders. So then the first question would be, since when are we observing the drop? Then identifying where the issue is lying. So that is where, your clarifying questions come into the picture again. Then we spoke about bucketizing your different causes into different aspects, right? So here, these are the 4 most common buckets that you would create, and more often than not, your issues of RCAs will get split into these. If I talk about system issues, right? So metric calculation could be a problem, first of all, and then metric logger. Now here, of course, we've seen all the different types of system issues, so technical issues that can go into it. I'm not dealing much into this now. Then external issues, we of course spoke about competitors. Seasonality could be a factor. Like Zomato, Swiggy पे आप order करोगे खाना, बारिश के दिनों में ETA will go up, right? That is because, of course, every rider is taking more time to deliver the order. Everywhere there's waterlogging. It takes time, right? So, of course, you need to understand the seasonality aspect also. And then user mix change. User mix change can happen. Say, for example, a third competitor has come, so there would be a shift observed over there. Right, and then maybe you yourself in the app you've introduced a new feature, so now customers have moved on to that new feature. So of course जो आपका cannibalization हो गया है, first वाली जगह पे you will observe a dip in the orders or user interaction or engagement, whatever metric you are looking at. Then third is the internal factors. Now internal factors, we will have new releases, system errors, some product cannibalization. So user mix can be a factor of product cannibalization. Now when we talk about new releases, of course, everything that can be managed by us will be categorized as internal reason. And then there are some out of control factors like geopolitical issues, some natural disasters that have occurred. So those will be some things that we can't really do anything about. Tariff padha diya, customs have gone up, custom duty has gone up, there is some war happening somewhere. So of course, all those factors are present there. And this is just an approach that you can take, creating these 4 buckets and listing down your possible causes in these 4 buckets. Then user journey is one of the best ways to solve an RCA problem. Understanding from the start point till the end point, what are the different aspects or what is the user journey? If I'm entering the app, what all will I go through to finally end up placing an order? So understanding that journey is important. Right, and then you all have already worked on creating KPI trees, identifying metrics. So you can always create an equation out of a metric. You can cross-question the interviewer if they've mentioned such a metric that you don't understand. So you can ask them that I think this is the definition of the metric. Can you please confirm? Right, so you can always write the metrics in terms of equation and then proceed with your structure finally. What you shouldn't do is, of course, you should ask questions related to the problem statement. Like you can ask clarifying questions, but don't make it into a Q&A. Don't ask too many questions also. Always focus on 3 or 4 clarifying questions, then create a structure, lay out that structure in front of the interviewer, get there, go ahead. Is this correct? Or is this, you would like me to explore more parameters here? If they give you the go ahead, then you can, dive deeper into it. If they suggest some changes, then think about on those lines and then, incorporate those. So what you shouldn't do is just continuously, can you tell me this? Can you tell me how will this work? Like that kind of structure will not give you that will not help you in any way. Right? So do's is of course get alignment on the structure or the direction from the interviewer before moving forward. Now we'll take a few examples. So what I want you all to do is take 30-40 seconds, think about this problem and write out the metrics or data points that you would capture. If you want to unmute yourselves and let me know, that is also good. If you want to write it in the chat, that is also good. Okay, so the problem statement is that Netflix aims to improve its content recommendation system to boost user engagement and attention. What key data points would you recommend for Netflix to analyze in order to achieve this goal? If anybody would like to volunteer and then we can just have a conversation regarding this problem statement. Guys, I've not received even a single metric. Come on, please. Abhigna, have you thought of something?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do you use Netflix?
Not really.
Actually, do you use any streaming platform?
No.
You don't watch any content?
No.
Okay, good for you. Okay, okay, then we'll talk about someone else. How about okay, how about Guru Singh?
Yeah, I haven't thought of anything.
Okay, actually, tell me how many of you have used Netflix? You guys can.
Sometime I use.
Yeah, you guys can ask me clarifying questions if you don't understand the problem statement or what is expected. Yeah, Swati, I can see you unmuted yourself. You want to ask me something?
Ratings we have found it.
Sorry?
Ratings. That IMDb ratings.
IMDb ratings? Yes. I mean, ratings, yes. You don't necessarily have to go to IMDb. On Netflix itself, there is an option to give a thumbs up, like content or not for me kind of option is there.
The first one is like ratings.
But yeah, ratings and reviews is one way. Okay. What else, guys? Come on. Think of it. Not just
Maybe key points. Maybe it will be a romance drama or love story.
genre.
Yeah.
Genre of the content. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Age
Good.
can
That
also
will be the
a
main right for recommendation.
Correct. What else?
Age can also be a factor, like which age group is.
Yeah, maybe. Which age group is watching what content. That is also
Like,
possible.
how will we measure user engagement and retention? Like watch time.
Yes, correct. Good.
Language
So-
and region.
Perfect. Yes. So that's a great point because see for Amazon, of course, that Amazon problem language do not make sense, but at least in Netflix, language is a big part. And अगर हम इंडिया की ही बात करें, within India there are so many languages that people watch, right? North में पंजाबी content आप push कर सकते हो, South में आपको regional languages पे जाना पड़ेगा, and you have to bring in new content also accordingly, right? So yeah, that's a good point. Any more recommendations from you guys?
Accounts that are not active have reduced users.
Accounts that are not active have so उन्हीं का engagement हमें increase करना है, तो वो तो हम identify कर ही चुके हैं, right? We have to boost user engagement. Okay, so उन accounts को हम क्या recommend करेंगे is what we have to focus on. Okay, so what I'll do is I also listed down a couple of points, so let's just quickly go over those. So हमने बहुत सारे points तो already बोल भी दिए, ठीक है? First is we have to focus on the user history to identify the patterns, है ना? हर user के लिए recommendations will be different. So first of all is the genre preference. If I continuously watch comedies or rom-coms, right? So then the next content that I'm recommended should be in line with that because that is my preference. ठीक है? So similarly अगर यहाँ पे Big Bang Theory मैंने पूरा देख लिया, तो then Netflix should recommend similar sitcoms, whether it is Friends, whether it is How I Met Your Mother, right? So those kind of things. Then we spoke about viewing time also somebody had suggested, right? So that is correct. Now here, if I am watching in short bursts only, if I'm just watching content when I'm eating food, right, it's like 15, 20 minutes. So then what Netflix can propose to me is smaller content, right? Those the shows which have episodes 20 minutes long, 30 minutes long. So that would be a recommendation. For somebody who watches for long hours, for them watching or recommending movies or longer series, like there are also series which have 1 hour long episodes. So those could be the recommendations. Then we talk about interaction data. Interaction basically means that you recommended something to them, something new, and they just skipped it or they ignored it. They did not click on it. So maybe, here the metric would be you're observing the click-through rate basis whatever is shown to them. So interaction data becomes important. And then search history, of course, is another parameter, right? वो खुद से क्या search कर रहा है? If I'm searching, say horror, तो फिर मेरे को horror content आगे से Netflix को recommend करना चाहिए. ठीक है? Another information would be device, whether that person watches content on phone, on TV, laptop or tablet, right? So there are different kinds of devices that can be used. So उससे थोड़ा idea लगता है कि what kind of content will work for the person, कितना concentration से देखने वाला content है, उसको आप TV पे देखोगे maybe, जो ऐसे side में चलता जा रहा है and phone पे second screen बना के आप काम कर रहे हो, right? So that is another kind of information that you can derive from device information. Then demographic data, of course, we spoke about regional recommendations and also the language preferences. So Netflix initially was only into putting out content that others are creating, but of course now we know that Netflix themselves comes up with lots of shows and lots of movies. So this will give them a great idea about what content to produce going further, right? Understood? And one thing, since a lot of you have not used Netflix, what I would recommend is, how do you practice for case studies? Pick up, say, 10 industries. One could be like e-commerce platform like Amazon, Flipkart. Second could be a travel agency, not agency, but travel company like Go Ibibo, Make My Trip, etc. Third could be your Netflix, entertainment, right? Fourth could be your edtech companies. Fifth could be your food aggregator like Zomato, Swiggy. So all these create different industries. Pick up multiple case studies from each type of industry and then practice it. So even if you don't know about a kind of product, you will at least get a hang of it and get an understanding. Okay. Let's try to move on to a different problem statement. Okay. So basically, this is a problem related to Uber. How did you reach these suggestions? What's the process? Vansh, देखो. So I have basically understood the user journey only in the previous problem. Right? यूजर जर्नी क्या कहते हैं? आई कम टू दी ऐप, व्हाट कैन आई डू? आई कैन वॉच कंटेंट जो भी मैं देख रही हूँ, उसके बेसिस पे मुझे रिकमेंडेशंस देने हों, राइट? आई एम सर्चिंग, आई कैन सर्च फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर जॉनर, राइट? तो फिर मैं कितने ड्यूरेशन में देखती हूँ। अब ये सब थोड़ा सा ना आपको वही मैं बोल रही हूँ कि वंस यू गेट अ हैंग ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट ऑल थिंग्स टू फोकस ऑन. व्हाट इज योर जर्नी व्हेन यू गो ऑन द नेटफ्लिक्स ऐप? उसी के बेसिस पे आई केम अप विद these points.
Hello, am I audible?
Does that answer your question?
Am I audible?
It's very low, Vansh.
Am I audible?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, so my question was, how can we approach this case from when an interview is going on? Like if an interviewer asks us this particular question, so what is going to be our first action, right? Because we cannot just give them the suggestions right away.
So there are different kinds of problems. Okay? When we were dealing with the RCA problem, we went through a lot of steps, right? So that Amazon one was a different kind of problem. So if you remember at the beginning, we spoke about 4 kinds of problem statements, right? Here in this slide. So that Amazon problem was a diagnostic problem where some issue has happened. Our orders have dropped. Now we need to go back and understand the issue. So हमने user journey देखी, हमने different parameters पे देखा कि issue किस level पे है. That is what we did in the RCA problem. Now this is a descriptive kind of problem. Or in fact, predictive, it's somewhere between descriptive and predictive. Okay. So here, there might not be different kinds of parameters that you would consider. You just have to understand what a user is doing on the platform. Okay. So here, the thing might seem random to you, but the way I suggested it was, I go on the app. First of all, I'm watching a particular content. Now, what will be the next content I watch? I want a recommendation for that. Secondly, how long do I watch the content for? Okay. Sometimes I'm in the mood to watch only short 20-minute long content, right? Otherwise, मूवीज पे जाना होता है, देन मेरे को रिकमेंडेशंस में मूवीज बहुत कम आती हैं बिकॉज आई लाइक टू वॉच शॉर्टर कंटेंट. सो आई हैव टू गो सर्च ऑन द मूवीज सेक्शन एंड देन आई कम अक्रॉस सम गुड रिकमेंडेशंस ओवर देयर. तो जॉनर एक चीज हो गया, व्यूइंग टाइम दूसरा चीज हो गया आपका व्यूइंग ड्यूरेशन, है ना? सो दिस इज हाउ यू विल अप्रोच इट.
They are just suggestions, I mean. Yes,
हाँ, so that was the question itself, right? ये और ये
they are
सजेशन नहीं है.
opinions, not like suggestions. They are like opinions because you are just giving away them.
आप उस पे डेटा बनाओगे. वेट, लेट मी एक्सप्लेन. So one thing you should remember is that everything that you're doing on the app is stored at the backend. ठीक है?
Yeah,
Problem
that's
है.
fine. But
हाँ,
from a
I'm explaining. ठीक है? Ultimately क्या करना है? यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन में ही था, what key data points would you recommend for Netflix to analyze? क्वेश्चन में ही वो था.
okay.
समझ रहे हो आप? So we have to focus on the problem statement. How is it framed? What is it that we have to do?
But for that, we should know what are the data points they are collecting so that we can have
तो
some.
आपको assume करके चलना है. मतलब assume भी नहीं करना है. You can obviously counter question, right? That is why I ask clarifying questions.
Okay.
You can always ask the interviewer, see, I am thinking on this line. Does Netflix store that kind of information at backend? Correct? So you can always ask that clarifying question. Suggest a metric. If you don't feel the approach that we took is right, then suggest to me what other approach would we have taken for this problem.
Like first of all, we can just ask them some clarifying questions. What which platform are we trying to gain the insights on like tablet or website or anything. Something we can start with that, and then
So वो okay. So यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि आपने नेटफ्लिक्स यूज किया?
not really.
हाँ. So नेटफ्लिक्स में क्या है, रिकमेंडेशंस आपके हर जगह सेम आते हैं. Okay, so recommendations will not change basis the device. Okay, so that is why it's okay. You are asking a clarifying question, so it's fine. I'm answering that question. Basically, the recommendations are independent of the device. What else?
And what kind of data are we collecting from the user?
So this you can't ask, right? This is a very generic question. You have to come up with a metric that this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe genre is something that we can focus on. Do we have the genre level insights in the data?
Okay.
ठीक है. So you would ask specific questions. You है ना, डेटा क्या स्टोर हो रहा है वो आप ऐसे नहीं पूछोगे
It's a
डायरेक्टली.
broad question.
Yeah. And all of this is present. ठीक है. So that is what I'm emphasizing again and again. Whatever you do on the app gets stored at the back end.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend, अभी मैंने बोला इंडस्ट्रीज के बारे में जिनके बारे में आपको नॉलेज नहीं है, हेल्थ इंडस्ट्री के बारे में भी डेटा होता है बहुत सारा. Try pick up a project over there and understand what kind of things happen there. अभी आप लोगों को नेटफ्लिक्स के बारे में ज्यादा आइडिया नहीं है, so maybe this example didn't work out well for you guys. But otherwise, all of this, when you go and you start looking at Netflix, if you get a free subscription for a few days, just take it and then explore it, then you'll understand what I mean here by these things that I've considered. Okay. थोड़ा क्लियर हुआ वंश, like how should you, है ना? Okay, good. ठीक है. हाँ, so this problem statement is basically related to Uber. Now you have to develop a framework and identify metrics that can be used to evaluate drivers at various stages of a ride. Okay. So पहली बात है, have you all understood what needs to be done? I want you guys to read the statement, understand, and if nahi samajh aaye, ask me question now itself, then we'll give you some time to come up with some metrics.
I have a question here.
Sorry?
I have a question here.
हाँ जी.
So what do we mean by the stages of ride?
So basically अभी आपको क्या करना है, you guys have to focus on the driver's user journey on the app. हम लोगों ने उबर या ओला यूज किया है तो हमें हमारी जर्नी पता है, बट ड्राइवर की क्या जर्नी होगी, उसके लिए राइड के डिफरेंट स्टेजेस क्या होंगे, वो उस पे फोकस करके नाउ यू हैव टू कम अप विद मैट्रिक्स.
So do we have to consider the driver signing up for the app also? We are assuming that it's
साइन अप ड्राइवर्स के लिए ही है ये.
Like for various stages, can we consider like booking, pickup,
Yes.
ride timing, and
Yes.
drop off?
Correct.
Am I
That
missing
are the
something?
basics. No, I mean think of it. Maybe one or two more things you can add, but primary basic structure is that what you mentioned.
Can we consider like how driver uses thing, like whether he's opting for short route or long route?
Okay. ठीक है. So now you have to identify metrics. ठीक है.
Okay,
So उस point पे what is the metric that you can create?
I have to think about it more.
हाँ.
I mean, I'm getting the sense that because it happens many times that a driver, even if there is short route already there, but they try to take long route just to.
हाँ. So think of a metric if you can create that considering this.
Okay.
Like how we will evaluate the driver's efficiency, or by customer satisfaction, or rating, or by something else, like ride duration.
So multiple चीजें हैं. Rating will be 1 point. ठीक है. But अगर हम driver journey की बात करें, वो सबसे लास्ट में आता है. Rating comes after the driver has dropped off. Right? So there are so many things before that you can do.
Pick up time.
हाँ. Metric कैसे बनेगा उसमें? ठीक है. Let's do it together. ठीक है.
yeah. So I have a framework.
हाँ. Tell me.
Yeah. So first, we are going to start with the driver standing by. Like he's on a standby mode. He's waiting for app to give him some rights or make a request. So here we can see what is the location where the driver is on a standby. That's something we can do. And what is the average time he's on a standby? That is something.
Okay. ठीक है. Average time on standby is one metric that you're suggesting. ठीक है. Okay.
And some location also. Location can be also a metric. Where he is. Yeah. Secondly, request then after some time a request will be like directed to that driver for the cab. So what is the acceptance rate of that request? How much he accepts or how much he rejects, how many requests he rejects?
Perfect.
That can be something.
Yes,
Then,
yes.
then what we can do is the location of the, then he gets the location, he accepts it. Then we have to see what the average distance driver generally, what is the average distance to which driver accepts the request, because if it's too far, generally drivers tend to like cancel the request or deny the request. That is something we can see how far the pickup location is and how driver reacts to it. Then then he arrives to the location, and what is the waiting time for the driver at the pickup locations, because like the customers don't come immediately, like sometimes, so they have to pack and.
हाँ, but वो customer का fault हुआ ना, अगर
But
driver
like-
wait करना पड़ रहा है. So that is not
yeah.
driver's thing.
But still, like we can see how much driver is like waiting. That's
हाँ,
it's a
but
part of
हमें-
his journey, right?
No, so हमें देखो क्या करना है. Basically हमें driver को evaluate करना है, right? This waiting time is not helping us evaluate the driver.
Actually, it can, because if the waiting times are higher, the driver might be unsatisfied with the customer, or he might get angry. He can be unsatisfied.
तो उसको आप
It might
metric
affect his own rating, because it might
Yeah,
it can affect his
so
own rating.
वो
because
आपका फिर rating में capsulate हो जाएगा, right? And
we
even
can
the
see a
driver.
correlation between the.
No, so the driver also has the option to rate the customer, right? तो वो वहाँ पे reflect हो जाएगा. So here ये waiting time की जगह आपको कुछ और सोचना था, but ठीक है. This will not work basically. This will not give us
Okay.
a thing for the driver. What
And
next?
something like payment mode. Mode of payment, like how he is
Okay.
receiving the. That is something, and the journey about the route is he taking. If it is the optimal route, or because sometimes driver tend to move around, it will increase the fares. That's something we can. On arrival, what is the rating? What's
Right.
the rating? What's the rating which driver is giving to the customer? That's something that can be. Yeah.
ठीक है.
Right.
Again, whatever rating driver is giving to the customer is not, evaluation of the driver. तो उल्टा देखना है आपको. What is the rating that the driver is getting from the customers? ठीक है. ठीक है. So I think approach आपका सही था, Vansh. You broke down the user journey starting से end तक देखा. I'll just suggest couple of more points that you can look at. ठीक है. So what I did was I split the ride into 4 parts. ठीक है. First is before the ride begins. तो वहाँ पे acceptance rate आ गया. ठीक है कि आपका so a driver usually gets a lot of requests. उसमें से how many has the driver actually accepted? Okay. फिर in fact one metric is missing here. अब driver ने accept कर लिया, उसके बाद भी so many times cancellations happen. Okay. So can I write here? Okay. First point of the journey is okay, acceptance rate. अब ये से मेरा पिकअप पॉइंट है. ठीक है. Now to write on this. So this is my pickup point. अब एक्सेप्ट करने के बाद ड्राइवर इस लोकेशन पे था, उसको यहाँ से यहाँ तक जाने में टाइम लगेगा कुछ, राइट? कैन वी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कंपेयर the ETA compared to the actual time? That will be my metrics, right? Actual time divided by ETA. So that means कि ड्राइवर कुछ ना कुछ टाइम पास कर रहा है बीच में if the driver is not reaching at the ETA or the suggested time. अगर बहुत ही ज्यादा डेविएशन है, of course थोड़ा बहुत you will have to keep a margin of error, बीच में कोई रेड लाइट आ गई एक्सेट्रा. So say 5 minutes है, अगर वो 8-9 minutes लगा रहा है हर बार, तो फिर मतलब there is some problem here. So that is one metric. Actual time by ETA. ठीक है. यहाँ पे ही प्री राइड एक मेट्रिक बन गया हमारा एक्सेप्टेंस रेट. सेकंड टाइम वाज एक्चुअल टाइम divided by ETA. Third would be cancellation rate. यहाँ पे ही cancel भी कर देते हैं, whether it is done by the customer or whether it is done by the driver. So that is something that we can bifurcate that metric into and then analyze it further. Okay. And then because यहाँ पे भी फिर reason होता है कि cancel क्यों कर रहे हैं, वो सब पे हम फिर bifurcation कर सकते हैं अपने metric. तो 3 metric बन गए हमारे इधर. अब राइट स्टार्ट में लोकेशन एक्यूरेसी हमारी आ गई यहाँ पे. ठीक है, बिकॉज पिकअप पॉइंट यहाँ पे है, ड्राइवर यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं, इधर पहुंच के बोल रहे हैं कस्टमर को कि अब आ जाओ. Right? Driver is telling the customer that you walk till this place. So this location accuracy comes into the picture over here. Fine. Now anyway, everything is fine. The rider has entered the car or entered whatever, whether it is auto or whatever. Now from this point, the journey starts and say this is the end point. अब यहाँ पे भी same metrics आएंगे, similar to जो हमारा driver का location to pickup location का point था, right? So यहाँ पे भी first of all location accuracy comes into the picture. ठीक है? Location accuracy आ गई कि drop point क्या था आपका versus actual point कहाँ है जहाँ drop किया है first. Second आ गया ETA versus actual time from pickup till drop. Third आ गया, अब like multiple of you, many of you focused on the location, like the optimized route or something. So how do you compare it? You have to compare it, right? Otherwise it cannot be a metric in itself. So you will compare it with respect to the suggested route. Okay, there is one route that is suggested by Uber or Ola, and then what is the right that the or the route that the driver took. So you could compare the distance traveled, or you could actually navigate the map and see the delta. ठीक है, so here you have created a metric. अब drop location का आ गया, drop कर दिया, उसके बाद आपका क्या है कि of course you have a feedback. ठीक है, feedback में भी आप rating दे सकते हैं, extra tip भी add कर सकते हैं customers. ठीक है, now here also there is one more feature, there is a safety feature also introduced in most of the apps these days. वहाँ पे स्पेशली दिस इज फॉर वुमेन, लाइक दे कैन रेज इफ देयर इज अ सेफ्टी इशू दे फील. सो वो कुछ कंप्लेंट्स अगर रेज हुई हैं विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द ड्राइवर, देन यू नो दैट बिकम्स अ बिग क्वेश्चन मार्क. सो दिस इज हाउ यू विल वर्क ऑन अ फ्रेमवर्क. सो इफ आई जस्ट क्लोज दिस, I go back. One second, how do I remove this?
Can we consider the speed of the vehicle or these kind of metric?
Yes, you can. So at least in Uber, what I've seen is that they have a मतलब for every at least cab they have a limit of 80 kilometers, and वो it starts pinging as soon as the driver reaches there. So of course external जो आपके additional metrics हैं उसमें one will be the speed of the rider also, and और आप क्या देख सकते हो. तो जैसे आप लोग साइनअप्स की बात कर रहे थे, तो साइनअप्स की जगह यू कैन सी हाउ मेनी टाइम्स हैज द ड्राइवर लॉग्ड इन और फॉर हाउ मच ड्यूरेशन इज द ड्राइवर अवेलेबल. ठीक है, इवन दो आई थिंक उबर सेज कि हम मतलब दिस इज लाइक अ पार्ट टाइम फ्रीलांस जॉब दैट द ड्राइवर्स आर डूइंग, एंड वी आर नॉट पुटिंग एनी और इन्फोर्सिंग एनी टाइमलाइंस ऑन देम कि इतने टाइम पे आपको काम करना ही करना है. बट स्टिल व्हेन यू क्रिएटिंग एन इंसेंटिव प्रोग्राम, हियर एसेंशियली वी आर क्रिएटिंग एन इंसेंटिव प्रोग्राम, राइट. हम मेट्रिक्स देख रहे हैं कि अच्छा है बुरा है ड्राइवर, हम आइडेंटिफाई भी कर रहे हैं बुरे ड्राइवर्स को, प्लस मे बी वी आर क्रिएटिंग एन इंसेंटिव प्रोग्राम वेयर वी पुश देम टू वर्क हार्डर. So then for weekends पे कितना काम कर रहे हैं, weekdays पे कितना काम कर रहे हैं.
One metric
Sorry?
can be one metric which I realized is uptime of the driver, like the time after the time in minutes in which the customer is in the car. Like, that can be a metric.
हाँ, वो सिर्फ स्टैंड अलोन नहीं होगा, उसको आपको फिर या तो कंपेयर करना पड़ेगा और यू विल हैव टू मेक
We can have a ratio. We can have a
ratio
ratio
of what?
of the time in which the customer is in the car and the car is driving, and divided by the total time, or the
Total
time
time.
total time, or the time in which the car is driving without a customer. That's something in
Okay, but again then you have to consider the time it is taking from the driver location to the pickup time also,
yeah.
right. So all
So
that will
we
you're
have to
neglecting
maximize
that.
this ratio, and we can work on
Hmm.
maximizing this ratio also.
हाँ, तो उसमें क्या हो गया ना, फिर वो ड्राइवर evaluation के लिए नहीं हुआ. That is a good metric to look at, like how do you evaluate the allocation of the drivers. ठीक है, कि आपको ऑप्टिमाइज करना है वो सिस्टम, तो उसके लिए वो अच्छा है कि हाँ हम कैसे ज्यादा पास वाले ड्राइवर्स को ही सजेस्ट करें और समथिंग लाइक दैट. बट ड्राइवर की इवैल्यूएशन में उसका काम नहीं होगा, इज व्हाट आई फील. ठीक है, सो एनीबॉडी एल्स हैव एनी थॉट्स ऑन दिस प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट. हमने यहाँ पे क्या किया, Amazon में हमने खुद की कस्टमर की यूजर जर्नी समझी, इस प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट में हमने ड्राइवर की यूजर जर्नी समझी ऐप पे. ठीक है, ड्राइवर की खुद की एक ऐप भी होती है उबर ओला रैपिडो में, उनकी जर्नी हम समझ रहे हैं. ओके ठीक है. Now this is the next question. This is like an RCA problem, and I want you guys to attempt it. You can ask clarifying questions, and you can take some time to jot down your structure and points that you would like to suggest.
So I have some clarifying questions.
Yes.
So first is is the data, where is the data coming from? What is the data source, and is it reliable?
Yeah, there's no issue with how data is being captured.
Secondly, what reactions on posts or videos, or we are talking about all the content on Facebook? So what kind of content you're talking about?
Yeah, so that's a good question. ठीक है? So in this case, say my reactions on posts have gone down.
Are we talking about specific demographic
भी नहीं है across सब जगह हमें दिख
and any target audience
रहा है. नहीं.
or any time frame we are talking about, like
Okay, टाइम फ्रेम होगा इस केस में से 3 दिन से कम हो रहे हैं. 3 days. So Shweta, how will you judge if the post is interesting or not?
It's like content quality. What
हाँ,
content they are providing.
But how do you judge that? मतलब ultimately हम RCA में भी जो भी हम points suggest करते हैं, we should be able to measure that through data, right? Quality of content को हम कैसे judge करेंगे?
After watching we can solve by directly watching the videos.
Sorry? Basically, in this scenario, I want you all to focus more on what questions will you ask related to this problem statement, right?
The first question can be, is the user, what is the average user activity? Is the user activity decreasing in last 3 days?
No, so the user engagement मतलब that is
So
completely
how many
okay.
active users?
Active users are fine only.
And the
No impact on
time, average time the user is spending on the app, is it constant or decreasing?
that is also constant.
are we talking about any specific type of reactions like text, images, or videos?
So here then this is also a good question. Okay, clarifying what kind of reaction are we talking about? So reaction maybe I would also suggest one more thing when you're talking about this. Be a little more specific. Okay, reaction थोड़ा सा generic हो जाता है. So maybe it is like or other kind of emojis or share or even comment would sometimes be considered as a reaction. Right. So ideally, when you're asking such a reaction question, you should ask which one out of these would be the one that has gone down. Okay. So let me show you a couple of more questions. Okay, so main idea behind this is problem statement was that I wanted you all to figure out what kind of questions will you ask. Okay, so आपने बहुत सारे cover किए already. In fact, जैसे reaction का भी आपने पूछा है ना, like है, comment है, क्या है, other reactions है. Then second, फिर product. ठीक है, अभी के लिए first point ज़्यादा valid नहीं है because Meta as the company and Facebook is separate. But yeah, this one thing was asked whether it is reels, posts, live or collectively सबके लिए नीचे गया है. Right, then region में concentrated है कि across है. Now here because I did not mention India, right, it could also be कि किसी country में भी specifically हो सकता है. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a region in India or a state in India. ठीक है. Then again for Facebook also, guys, are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Is my voice clear?
Yes.
Okay, my Wi-Fi just fluctuated. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, again, Facebook also has an app and a website, right? So again, you can ask that also. So then drop आप लोगों ने consider किया, time frame पूछा. So time frame was 3 days, but again, drop में one more thing would be whether it is a weekly drop or a month-over-month drop. And then metric कौन सा down जा रहा है, वो भी आपने जैसे consider किया कि active users पे impact आया है हमारे कि सिर्फ reactions पे ही है, तो that was also good thing. And then finally, we should have also gotten down to कि क्या हमने कोई new feature introduce किया जिसकी वजह से drops आए हैं, right? So these are the kind of questions you would ask, and I think you guys have gotten a hang of how to approach this, right? Okay. Now this is another problem statement. अब again we have to focus more on what questions to ask. ठीक है, clarifying questions हम क्या पूछेंगे, उससे थोड़ा approach बनेगा हमारा. So YouTube watch time is down, but comments are up on mobile devices. What will you do?
Here one question maybe that whether the comments are more on the short videos or the long videos.
Yeah, good question. ठीक है. So we are focusing on watch time. So watch time can be either on shorts or on this. ठीक है, across ही सब में कम हुआ है.
And then maybe a thing, like because shorts are for very like 15 to 30 seconds or maybe a minute. So because of that, there may be less watch time, but people still comments on that because whether it's a funny or any informative thing, so they tend to comment more.
Right, but ऐसा कुछ change नहीं हुआ है system में, right? कि अब एकदम से drop होएगा. Shorts already exist कर रहा है बहुत time से.
True.
So
I had one question.
Huh.
Are we talking about watch time per user or all over watch time of like the whole platform?
average watch time.
Per user. And the comments per user are all over.
Huh.
Comments per user.
Not so comments is not per user. मतलब collectively comments has gone up. It doesn't necessarily have to be per user. Even watch time मतलब हम platform का overall watch time बोल रहे हैं.
Are we talking about any specific type of videos, like or overall?
There's no such bifurcation or categorization of the type of video. Let's focus on in what scenario will the comments go up?
The content is more engaging and polarizing also. Opinion.
Yeah. So that could be one thing, right? Content when it becomes very polarizing. So polarizing मतलब बहुत ही argumentative वो content चल रहा है कि कुछ political हो गया जिसपे there are two sides to it and then people are arguing in the comments, ठीक है? But ऐसे scenario में then we would expect कि watch time is also going up जिसको देख के ही लोग agitate हो रहे हैं, they're commenting and fighting in the comment section, right? So that's one thing. But it could also be that there is some new feature launched, ठीक है? अब जैसे for example, Instagram पे we have the option of live, right? Where a person can go live, everybody can get involved, whoever's there online. So people don't sit for the entire duration of the live videos, but they have an option to comment, है ना? Right side पे reaction दे सकते हैं, comment कर सकते हैं, but hardly anybody says for the full duration of the live. अब लेकिन क्या है, when we are talking about watch time, तो वो आपका base में तो watch time में पूरा duration आएगा, right? Full duration of the live will also go in the base. On the top will only be how much time was the video actually watched, and that will be less. So that could be one idea. मतलब here basically this was something related to that they introduced a new live feature. But हाँ, again the point is कि थोड़ी सी clarifying questions आप लोगों को पूछने चाहिए थे कि जैसे Facebook में पूछा, right, कि आपका usage ऐसे कम हुआ है, कुछ average session duration इसमें आ जाता है, right, कि कितना time एक इंसान YouTube पे spend कर रहा है versus how much watch time is different, but average session duration is also an important thing. Then if there were some algorithmic changes that were implemented, right? YouTube maybe there is kids versus normal YouTube, so that could be one thing. Of course YouTube also has that music app, but उसका इसमें होगा नहीं contribution क्योंकि हम watch time की बात कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पे ज़्यादातर it is more to do with just the audio, right? So ये सब चीजें हैं जो आप consider कर सकते हो, right? And yeah, ये point polarization जब भी होता है तो comments ज़्यादा आने लगते हैं. That is of course there. ठीक है? अब going back to quality of content, you can't really measure, but there is of course an option to do a sentiment analysis. ठीक है, sentiment analysis, I don't know if you guys are aware of it. तो Python libraries को use करके हम समझ सकते हैं what kind of comments are going up. मतलब अगर जैसे hate जैसे word use हो रहे हैं तो बहुत negative sentiment है जो increase हो रहा है. And then if somebody is writing, I love this content, I really appreciate you posting this, thank you for doing that. तो ये सब positive keywords हो गए, and then the sentiment is positive towards whatever is going on. So ऐसे sentiment analysis करके हम comments को भी ज़्यादा deep dive करके समझ सकते हैं. Why is it that the comments are good? Okay. So similarly, I have this Instagram one also, but you guys can practice this later. So what we'll do is, we've been talking for 2 hours almost. So we'll take 5 to 10 minutes ka break and we'll be back at 12. Okay, guys? and then we will start working on the guesstimate bit. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, got it. So you can see my my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, it's visible.
So we're going to begin with guesstimate now. Guesstimate is doing guesswork with estimations. Okay. So the approach, to be honest, is very similar to how we approach RCA problems. We have to break down, problem statement and find the different parameters that could be influencing the problem. But the difference here is that in RCA, we do not take any assumptions. In guesstimates, we have to assume numbers. We have to assume some percentages, some parameters that may be influencing. Okay, so there's a lot of guesswork that goes into a guesstimate. There are a couple of approaches, and we'll discuss those now. So first of all, it's an important skill. Okay. Some companies, in fact, prefer guesstimates over case studies also to understand, to understand the person's structured approach. So we use it a lot to quickly assess the scale and impact of a problem without needing detailed data, right? So even though you are going to become a data analyst, the idea is you should at least know what you need, right? And that is what a person is trying to assess through guesstimates. Okay. So here are 4 steps. So you can use some questions to clarify your doubts. Then you break down the problem into smaller messy parts. So just how you created a KPI tree, here also you would identify certain smaller parameters that could be influencing the bigger problem statement. Then you lay out your assumptions and you also start putting in values there. And also even when you reach your final answer, if you feel that it is too big or too small and it's not making sense, then you can just go back and tweak your numbers a little. That maybe we should assume this. So that sense check is something that you can do. Now, tackle करने के लिए there are 3 different approaches. First is top down, then second is bottom up, and third is constraints led. Let's just start working with the top down approach. So इसमें क्या है, you start with a bigger number and you keep on drilling down. So it's like funnel analysis. ठीक है, funnel analysis में क्या होता है कि when say we were talking about the Amazon RCA problem, right? Over there, the app opens. The number of users who are opening the app may be 100. Okay, out of that, 80 people are only going on to the search bar or going into category, some product page. Then only 50 people are further going and building a cart, and only 20 people are actually placing the order. So it's like a funnel. There's a bigger number on top, and it keeps on going down. And finally, the percentage of orders will be just 20% out of the total people who open the app. So similar scenario हम यहाँ पे top down approach में करेंगे for the guesstimate. Bottom up में क्या है? You take a smaller piece first. उस customer के लिए हम कुछ एक analysis करेंगे. Then we will make it bigger. We will add multipliers, and then finally we will reach a bigger number. Constraints let me क्या है कि if you've identified some constraints that will be impacting it, so then you'll first have to work on a constraint, understand that first, and then you will you could have 2 or 3 constraints first, work on those, understand their data, and then combine it to finally fetch the final answer. We'll just start with an example. So here we have to estimate the number of Swiggy restaurant food orders in a day. Okay. Now what's the first step? First step is to clarify the questions, right? So clarifying questions I can ask, if you go back to the problem statement, there is no particular region mentioned here. So that is one thing I can confirm, right? Whether it is for entire Indian country or is it specific to a certain city or region. Then is it through desktop or through app or MWeb? Well, now I don't think the desktop page exists. I'm not sure. But if it does, this is a good question to ask, understanding the channel on which we are trying to focus our data on. Otherwise, this itself will become a bifurcation, a parameter that you use to bifurcate your assumptions. Then third is, do we include the cancelled orders or not? Right. So this is also a good question. So here maybe they want only the orders that are that have been delivered successfully. But if you also want to consider the cancelled orders, we can ask that counter question. Okay. Anything else that you feel would be helpful here in this problem statement? If you want to understand the Swiggy restaurant food orders in terms of clarifying questions, do you guys feel we should ask something else? Okay, I take that as a no. I'll move forward for now. Okay, so first we have to think of the constraints that are applicable here. Number of restaurants, right? So we have to find the number of orders, but we also have to consider the number of restaurants. But that is one influencing parameter. But here, to calculate the number of restaurants itself, right? That's not something that we can do. So here, that approach will not work. So I will move forward and I will try to solve it through a top-down approach. Ab top-down mein kya hota hai? The very first step is to make or consider one big number. Okay? Since we are talking about pan-India, the first thing that I'm going to consider is the population of India itself. Okay? So here, the population of India is 1.4 billion. Now here, out of the rural cities, Swiggy may not be present everywhere. Swiggy is present, say, in approximately 500 cities. In cities, the population of India that is captured I've assumed it is 20% of the population of India that is being catered by Swiggy. Okay, so eligible population क्या हो गया? This one. अच्छा, eligible population भी अब कौन सी है? Not everybody who is living in the Swiggy cities will be considered eligible population. ठीक है? Constraint एक इसमें constraint भी आ गया कि first of all the person has to have a smartphone and age group जो 70 के above वाले हैं, chances are that they will not be placing orders online. So here what you have to do is जो हमने यहाँ पे 1.4 billion का 20% population उठाया, for that population we are bifurcating it further. We are saying 80% of the population has smartphones, 20% does not have smartphones. ठीक है, so हम 20% से कम कर दिया डेटा को. Now within that also we are saying ages between 1 to 15 will place the order. 70 plus people मतलब 1 to 15 वालों के orders नहीं होंगे and 70 plus वालों के भी orders नहीं होंगे. So जो बाकी बचे 15 to 70 वाले range में age group में जो लोग हैं, they are the ones who will be placing orders, right? So again you will have to assign some numbers. Okay, this is the percentage of people who are in the age group of 1 to 15. This is the age group. The say 70% of people or 80% of people lie in 15 to 70, and then 70 plus are the remaining number. Okay. Now, population that orders food online. Okay, even out of the people who have smartphones, from that also, how many people actually have the app, right? Uske liye again we are making one assumption. So there are 15% people who are placing order online. ठीक है, अभी इसमें क्या है? Placing order online का number है ये, which means this will also include people who are ordering on Zomato, right? So this is what we have gotten from this number. Now, average orders per day for one customer, instead of per day, I'm saying average order in a month is 4. Okay. So now market share also, like I said, that 15% जो हमने यहाँ पे लिया था, this will be a number that will also incorporate the Zomato orders, right? So now we need to bifurcate that also further into Swiggy and Zomato. So since it's a duopoly, मैंने बोला 40% market share Swiggy के पास है, 60% Zomato के पास है, and then मैंने calculation करी. अब इसमें क्या है? ये पूरा जो भी था नंबर कर करके around 1 million orders in a day के अराउंड कुछ डेटा आएगा. ठीक है. So now one thing to remember is that in a guesstimate, the actual final figure is not as important as the approach is. If I am considering the mobile penetration, it is an important factor because Swiggy is an app, right, that will work on the mobile phone, which is powered by internet. So internet penetration हो गया या mobile phone penetration हो गया. ये चीज़ों पे हमें focus करना पड़ेगा. Similarly, it's a duopoly. So market share also comes into the picture. You will not attribute everything to just that company. So you have to take care of such parameters when deciding what to do, right? How to approach this. Same question, if I want to do it through a bottom-up approach, I feel in this scenario, it is much more complex when we do it through bottom-up approach. First of all, the idea is to find the number of orders per day. So here, I have to write the formula. I'm sort of creating a formula out of it. I'm saying that number of orders is dependent on the number of customers into average number of orders per customer per day. Right? Now, first I have to find the number of customers. Number of customers will be visits per day into percentage of visitors placing an order. Then I have to find the visitors per day. That will be visitors on app plus visitors on the web. Here again, we will anyway have to take the internet penetration, and then population comes into the picture, and then how much will be Swiggy's share, etc. So I feel at least in this kind of problem, the top-down approach is simpler because you're starting with one number, right? You're starting with a bigger number of 1.3 billion or 1.4 billion, and then you are going down to one particular figure. Okay. So is this clear how we approach the Swiggy problem through the top-down approach? Yes, no? Any doubt or any point you think is not right, we should consider something else. Happy to, have that conversation.
Like for this, if we are assuming anything, we need to explain it why we are assuming.
Correct. So we have to make assumptions, that is part of the guesstimate, but we have to be able to justify why we have considered some parameter. So we'll take another example over here. You have to estimate the number of passengers in the Bangalore airport right now. Okay, so this is something I want you guys to attempt. What are the different parameters you would consider? And then we will use a bifurcation. But again, please take some time, think about it, jot down your points. I'll give you 1 minute and then we'll discuss. Yeah, guys, anything? Any clarifying questions you all have, or you want to, suggest some parameters that you would consider for this?
Like we are talking about any specific timeline?
Right now,
Week, month.
okay, so at this point, how many number of passengers would be there in Bangalore airport?
Number of flights.
Are the pilots and the
One second, one by one, guys. One by one.
Are the
Number of
pilots and
flights. One second, Vansh. Number of flights से क्या मतलब था आपका?
मतलब कितने फ्लाइट्स होंगे उस समय
No,
on
is
board?
that a clarifying question, or are you suggesting a parameter that you would consider for this?
A parameter to consider.
Okay. Yeah, number of flights. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Vansh, go ahead.
So my question was, are the pilots and the crew in the airplane considered as a passenger or the worker? Because they
Okay.
also travel.
Yeah, good question. Okay, for now, I would say you can consider them also.
Like how many terminals are there in Bangalore airport? Can you
So that's again an assumption that you will have to take, but yeah, good parameter. So one thing is, whenever we talk about airport now, we should consider small things like international air, domestic air, right? All those parameters should be part of it. Terminals would be the next thing. Third thing would be
One more
your-
question.
sorry.
Yeah. Like, is it like weekdays or weekend?
It's right now. At this moment, how many passengers are there?
Okay.
So guys, questions I say paro, because this is, the questions, clarifying questions should also be relevant to the problem set. Okay. Okay, so we'll start. First of all, we have to identify the scope. Okay, we're talking about passengers. So are we talking about international passengers or domestic passengers? Okay, are we talking about inside airport or outside also? Right, there's some area where there's snacks and all, people are waiting, and then people are there to pick up folks also. So all of that can also be considered here. Okay, so are there any constraints? Yes. So number of passengers, it's a function of the number of aircrafts taking off and landing, which in turn is a function of the number of runways available and the time between takeoff and landing of two aircrafts. Okay, so multiple things we have found here. First of all, number of passengers. Number of passengers is in turn dependent on number of aircrafts taking off and landing. Okay, which is again a function of number of runways that are available. So of course, Chandigarh is a smaller airport compared to say Delhi, right? So number of terminals and number of runways are very less over there. So the crowd will also be less because the flights aayenge nahi. And then the time that is spent between the takeoff and landing of two aircrafts, that will also govern how many passengers we have at that point. So here, assumption ke liye, we will take two runways, okay? And time between two flights is 2 minutes. Okay, so this is what I've given. Now, can you guys proceed forward?
You're giving us time between two flights, then we will have to assume a time frame.
कर लो, आप मेरे को अपना approach बताओ सोच के. ये भी assumption ही लिया मैंने that there are two runways only. Like I've just given you, कि maybe you as a starting point, this is what you can consider.
We have two runways, and and all the flights are 2 minutes apart. So, that is something. So that is a very minor thing, I think. Because the most important thing is how many aircraft can a airport carry at a moment in time. Because
How
landing
many?
and aircraft are there on the airport hangar.
ठीक है.
So that is something we have to calculate. So
Okay.
I was thinking about.
See, the thing is कि between two flights is 2 minutes, so flights will be incoming also, right? तो land जो होगी flight, उसके लोग भी फिर वो airport पे consider किए जाएंगे. That is why this has been considered. But it's fine.
But it's a very small percentage in my opinion.
Okay. ठीक है. You want to neglect this assumption, that is also fine. Anybody else wants to contribute? Otherwise, we'll move forward.
we are talking about two runways and the time between them is 2 minutes. Then after 2 minutes, one flight lands and one takeoff.
Okay, आगे?
We can see the flight capacity like on an average we can take any number.
Basically, so if a flight is leaving in every 2 minutes, essentially we will know okay, roughly abhi next 1 घंटे में next 2 घंटे में how many flights would be taking off, right? So basis that, and then we can take an average capacity of one plane, and accordingly we can calculate that these many passengers would be waiting on the waiting in the airport. Okay, so that is.
I have approached it.
Yeah, but did you understand what I suggested? Why was that 2 minute given? It's essentially to assess how many flights will be landing and how many flights are going to go out. That is going to give us an idea about how many people would be there waiting for the flight. Okay. Okay. Go on.
What I did is there are two landing strips and 2 minutes after 30 flights per hour. And for 2 states, there is 60 flights. And I'm assuming that this is just 10% of the total fleet which is currently present on the airport.
Okay.
10% is just active. This 10% is mobile, and 90% of the fleet on the airport is unnecessarily like stationary. Something is like boarding is going on or something like that. That is going to 60, so 600 aircrafts currently on the airport, and each aircraft has around 200, I think, strength.
Okay.
So this is going to be like a 1.2 lakh. And then multiplying it by 2, because for every flight there are like some people leaving it. No, sorry, the 10% which are active right now, for them I've considered twice the like the passenger count, because half of the people will be leaving it and half of the people will be boarding it. So I have considered it twice. For around, I mean, for me it's around 1.5 lakh, which is very reasonable.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I did not put the solution for this, but I think the approach is fine. Okay. I'll add the solution for this after this also. I want you guys to pick up this problem statement now. I want you to find the daily active users that are on WhatsApp. Okay.
I have a question, ma'am.
Yes.
We are considering for India only, or
Yeah, so this will be across the globe.
okay.
We're talking about any specific device type,
No.
and we want the answer in percentage or a specific number.
Daily active users का number निकालना. Yeah, any thoughts of how you would approach this?
We are going to take the total population.
Okay.
And then smartphone users.
Sorry?
Which then the smartphone users.
How
many smartphone users are there, which are considered 20% of the global population, which is 1.4 billion. And I'm assuming 1 billion have the app.
Okay.
Because it's a very popular app. It's installed on Android devices. So 1 billion users. And then I'm going to segregate these users by age group, because higher elder people don't use apps that much. Youngsters use it very frequently, and below 18 I'm not considering.
Okay, why? WhatsApp is used below 18 also.
But like they don't have smartphones, I mean, I'm considering.
No, but they do, right?
Can,
yeah, but they do actually. So
yeah, so I think we can consider it like then to elderly and daily users. Elderly people use it like I think not very frequently. We're just trying to like.
Okay. Okay. I'll come back to your structure also. Anybody else has created
like
a structure?
Can we ask?
What do you want to ask?
Here, can we ask if we don't know the total population, like any number if you want to take?
So you can suggest that I'm taking 7 billion.
Okay, and if I want to know about the internet access total population, so we have to assume that, or we need to ask?
Yeah, you have to assume a number. Yeah, so that would be an assumption, right? Okay. So Vansh, basically ना अपने age group consider किया, which is one way to look at it. But WhatsApp is something that even senior citizens use, right?
But they use less frequently, in my opinion.
No, but you have to find out daily active users, right? अब less frequently आप बोल रहे हो, but daily एक बार ही तो check कर ही लेते हैं.
So then, like, how can we segregate it? Because
Yeah,
all the
so
users, 1 billion users will use it.
wait. I'll explain my approach also. So if anybody else wants to contribute, you can do that right now. Otherwise, then I'll start explaining my solution, how I approached it. Okay. So first of all, clarifying questions में like region है या के across globe निकालना है. So I told you that you'll find it across globe. Okay. Then WhatsApp also, there are 2 or 3 things happening within the application also, right? Now WhatsApp is something you guys use very often. So you guys should think of it, whether it is the personal WhatsApp business use case hai, ya फिर this community option also. What is it that you're looking at? So say I'm saying I want WhatsApp for personal use is what I'm focusing on. ठीक है. फिर ये physical usage automated bot you can forget, it's fine, not necessary. Then daily active users का मतलब है at least once they're opening the app. ठीक है. Sometimes it's not clear. It's possible that I'm opening the app and the active users में they're saying they're also sending a message. In this question, I'm saying they're at least even opening the app once. So that becomes the definition of daily active users. फिर considerations क्या है इसके अंदर? What I'm considering is कि number of WhatsApp users क्या है? It is dependent on the number of phones and people having internet access and WhatsApp. So how I started it is, of course, I have to find the global number, right? But I know more things that are relatable to me. I know about India. I know how households work. And I also have a sense that India will be the biggest market of WhatsApp. Okay. So how I started approaching this is, I took number of households in India. मैंने क्या किया? Population is 1.4 billion. I said average size of each household is 4. ठीक है? So total number of households आ गए 350 million houses we have. Okay. Now essentially I'm going to divide these households into 3 segments. Instead of age group, I will consider the economic section essentially. ठीक है? Upper, middle, lower. अब उसमें upper वाले का contribution I'm saying is 350 में से 20% is upper, 65% is middle class and then 15% is lower. इसमें I'm saying upper वाले में average 3 phones per household is what upper would have. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे 350 का 20% into 3. So this is what I get. 210 million phones. फिर middle की बात की तो मैंने बोला average 2 person per household, right? So यहाँ पे वंश आपका वो वाला चीज ambiguity हट जाएगी. मुझे age group पे नहीं देखना. If I have say 4 people living, there's one grandparent living, their parents and a kid also living. मैंने बोला average 2 phone है घर. ठीक है. And then 455 million phones इसके हो गए. And then lower class के लिए हम saying कि उनके पास ऐसा फोन नहीं है, स्मार्टफोन नहीं है. बेसिकली मैं स्मार्टफोन की बात कर रहे हैं. Okay. And then ये कुछ नंबर आता है 665 million phones का. Then I'm talking about internet penetration. ठीक है. तो ये इंटरनेट पेनिट्रेशन 70% का है, मतलब कंप्लीट एक्सेस है जिनके पास फोन में पैक रहता है या वाईफाई है, फुल एक्सेस है नेट का. तो वो मेरे को 70% का मैंने पेनिट्रेशन उसने इंटरनेट का ले लिया, तो मेरे पास ये नंबर आया. अब इसमें भी जरूरी नहीं कि सब व्हाट्सएप यूज करते हैं, इवन दो इट इज अ वेरी पॉपुलर ऐप फॉर श्योर, बट आई एम सेइंग 90% ऑफ दीज पीपल, दीज फोन्स वुड हैव व्हाट्सएप इंस्टॉल्ड इन इट. ठीक है. तो ये आ गया कुछ नंबर 418 मिलियन फोन्स. अब अगर किसी के पास व्हाट्सएप इंस्टॉल्ड है तो वो 99% of the times they would, yeah, okay, sorry Fatima, I would do that. Do you want me to repeat the entire thing again? Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll talk in English. Okay. So now, if I'm saying that 90% of people have WhatsApp installed, I'm saying they will open the app at least once for sure, because it's not necessary they're sending out a message, but it's possible they're receiving messages also, and they will open the app to just take a look at it. Okay. So here I get a number of almost 415 million users, and this is in India. Okay. So last step I forgot to add here. I'm saying WhatsApp, in India, India market is contributing almost 15 to 20% of the global WhatsApp daily users. So I will just multiply it in such a way that this is 20% of it. So I'll get a bigger number, right? So I'll multiply it 5 times and then that'll give me the global WhatsApp usage. Okay. So fun fact, this number, even though it seems very big, actual number is even bigger. Actual Indian daily active users are somewhere around 530 million in India itself. Okay. So the reason why the number is so high, because before WhatsApp came into India, the global market they had, so like US for example is heavily iOS friendly, right? We were more into Android phones where we didn't have the option to freely chat. Basically there in iOS you have an option that iOS to iOS you can chat for free without message charges or internet charges. So here we used to pay 1 rupee per message, per text message, and internet was anyway not very very easily available in 2013-12. It sort of began after that when Jio introduced heavy packs, and then it became easier to access internet. So since then, WhatsApp penetration became very high in India because it made it extremely convenient for everyone to text and chat with one another. That is why the contribution is very high. But anyway, facts aside, did you guys understand the approach? The kind of parameters that you have to consider could be age group, could also be average number of people per house, could be the economic background. What else can you consider? Of course, region-wise, there could be bifurcations. And this not just particularly to this case, but also like the region level, you can do some bifurcations. And then time of day, day of week. These are some important parameters that you can consider while performing a guesstimate calculation. Okay. Any doubts in this particular question? Or any other alternate approach that you guys can suggest? All right. Okay, next problem is, what is the market size of driverless cars in 2025?
Are we talking about assisted driving or 100% driverless?
Consider 100% driverless.
There are no 100% driverless cars.
No, there are in US, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't really need a driver
Wemo,
sitting there.
they are not a market, like they're experimental. I think.
Mhm.
They're experimental. Wemo, I think Wemo is experimental.
Yeah, I know that. I know about that. But that's the idea, right? So you have to understand the market size for them. If you all have seen Shark Tank, then a lot of times they ask for market size, right? And most of the times that number is based on assumptions that, so and so XYZ is there. So this is the market size. Okay, so that is why it's never really, I mean, it's not always based on like facts. Sometimes you can make assumptions and like quote a number for market size. Yeah.
Are we talking about cars or all the types of vehicles, trucks and taxis and just private vehicles?
Just, okay, so cars, yes, not necessarily private vehicles.
Trucks?
No, trucks will not be
Transportation.
considered, but cars are in the question. Okay, so we're going to work on the solution now. Okay, I might have taken too high assumptions, so maybe you guys can define the numbers, but I'll at least explain the approach that I'd considered, and that's more important in this scenario. First of all, I assume that the global sales of cars in 2025 is approximately going to be 80 million. Okay, now contribution of driverless cars for personal usage would be somewhere around 10%. Okay, so 8 million cars is effectively what I'm saying, that sales of such vehicles would be around 8 million. Now, an average cost of car is somewhere around 30,000 in US, right? So I'm assuming that for such a driverless car, it would be expensive. So 50K is what I'm assuming. So revenue from the sales of driverless cars would be $400 billion. Okay. Now, then we talk about, you mentioned Waymo, and then Uber is also there, which is going to adopt these driverless cars soon. Say 20% of these 8 million cars are essentially going to be utilized for these by car aggregators. Okay. So here, what I do here is I've taken 20%, so 1.6 million. From these, a revenue will also be generated. So revenue means the when an Uber driver is earning money, right? So from that Uber car, what is the revenue that they would be generating? So I'm saying 50K per year per car, right? Per annum car 50K liya maine. So total revenue okay, 1.6 million into 50K. That's another $80 billion. Then there could be additional services that are charged, right? Some upgrades, some software related things, and all of that will also cost. So I am going to include that as part of my revenue. Okay, so from the sales of these are some additional charges also, that additional revenue sources that I could create. And I'm saying $3,000 per car per year is some expense that could come. And here it's around 24 billion. So approximately I'm going to sum these three parameters and say $500 billion ki market hai for 2025. Okay, numbers might be very high because of course I don't know the numbers, so I've taken assumptions, right? But this is how I would approach it. So my clarifying question would be, which I think you also asked one. So personal usage or other things. So trucks and all is not something that you would include. Right? Cars usme likha hua tha, so that should not be a question. But ideally, personal usage or cabs and business usage and all, that should be the question here. Okay, so I have included all. I've included global sales also from the selling of the car, then what revenue would be generated by the car aggregators, and then additional revenue through the subsequent markets that are created. Any doubt in this?
Can we just calculate all the current market of automobile and then replace it with the driverless car? Because technically the market is the same.
Yeah, so you can do that. I mean, then you will be multiplying it that this much percentage contribution would be from driverless cars, and then finally that number will break it. Yes.
Because according to me, it's 100%. Because
100%.
I mean, the market size at least. So everybody will prefer a driverless car over a conventional car.
No, so that will not be a correct assumption. No? You have to make it a little realistic also. Everybody would prefer is different. How much penetration you think the driverless cars would be able to make? See, cost becomes a factor. Okay, 50K hai, so that's a difference of 20K delta is what I have taken. That's a realistic assumption.
Actually, there is one thing. You're considering global sales of cars, but driverless cars are not allowed in countries like India.
Correct. So कुछ bifurcation नहीं है ना country का.
So I was considering only developed countries.
Which is fine. 100% तब भी नहीं लोगे ना आप. पहली बात ग्लोबल सेल्स बोला है. इंडिया में अगर ड्राइवरलेस कार्स नहीं भी जाती हैं, तब भी आप ग्लोबल सेल्स में टोटल कार्स तो 80 मिलियन मैंने लिया ग्लोबल. उसका एक परसेंटेज फ्रैक्शन आई हैव टेकन इज ड्राइवरलेस कार्स. But irrespective driverless cars are in only US, in Australia, in some other continent or country, right? It doesn't matter. I am talking on a global scale right now at this moment. Now for WhatsApp, because I was more, I was more aware of the figures that are available in India. That is why I took that approach, and then finally I would multiply it by say 5 times. That is the global usage of WhatsApp. But here in this scenario, I don't know either. So it's a main assumption that I will take. I've taken global sales of cars overall. From that, I'm saying globally, the driverless cars would contribute say 10%.
How can we get the overall? Like, because you have assumed 80 million.
Yeah.
But how will we know it's a close assumption? Because like I don't have any.
Doesn't matter, right? That's what I explained. So here, the final figure does not matter. The approach matters. You could have taken 100 million over here. You could have taken 50 million also, right? Now 10 million will of course become very less. So, I think
because I don't have any idea. Sometimes like some question comes up and I don't have any idea about the figures. So what should I do? Like?
See, you can always ask the interviewer to assist. Okay, that is one way. Okay, can you give me a hint of how much, or in fact say, okay, I'm considering to take this much figure for my global sales and then break it down. Do you think that figure is less or more? You can ask that counter question to the interviewer also. Okay. So like previously also somebody had asked global sales, global population ke bare mein they were not sure. If you know Indian population, take that. But also these are a couple of things that you should know, you should read about thoda bahut, because it helps you in that top-down approach. Major things pad li. India mein kitni cars, like what is the number of cars being sold in India? What is the population of say some major countries? So these will help you in these guesstimate problems. Okay. So this is the last question I want you guys to attempt. This is slightly different. I have specified the city also in which you have to focus on. Becker's monthly salary on a stop sign. Okay, I'll just modify the question. Enter the stop sign. Not salary, I should say earning. Average earning at a stop sign in day. Okay. So this is what you have to find out. I want you all to consider as many parameters as you can, and we can get into the specifics and the numbers. I don't have a solution ready, but we will discuss and we will come to a final answer. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes for this. It's 51 right now, or 54 I'll give you time. Okay, 12:54, and I want you guys to create a framework, consider as many parameters as you can for this.
Does earning include only the cash things they receive, or it may be in the form of other things like clothes or food directly given to them?
Earning ke baad hai, so we'll consider the amount that we get, either through UPI or through cash. We'll talk about money.
Okay.
So I have a approach.
Yeah, tell me.
So I'm assuming a stop sign has a red light for 5 minutes and a green light for 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's a 10-minute time frame.
Okay.
and the beggar can only beg during the stop sign, like when the traffic is stopped. So I'm assuming when at the signal there are 100 cars at the time of stopping at the red light, and 10% of people give 10 rupees to the beggar, which is 100. So that is 600 rupees per hour.
Okay.
And assuming and considering that it's a very hard thing to do in harsh environments like summer and also it's so only 5 hours a beggar can beg in a day, is able to beg in a day, so which is 3,000 rupees a day, and 3,000 into I think 20 for a month working, which I multiplied by 20, which is around 60,000. Is a lot.
60,000 is a lot. Okay, first of all, देखो अब इसमें क्या है, you took 10 minutes, right? You took 5 minutes break.
Yeah.
But on an average, it would not last so much, right? Usually it is 1 minute to 2 minutes. Okay, so average you could have taken, say, even 120 seconds, 2 minutes if you take, right? So that time period should be reduced, firstly. Secondly, the cars, right? So the parameters, right? I wanted you to consider more parameters. Every hour will not be the same. Every hour we will not have 100 cars over. Yeah, the
That's
day.
why I took 5 hours, because to just average out everything.
Yeah, so you have to suggest your parameters also, right? You have to show that you can think of multiple parameters to the interviewer. How I would divide the hours is, first of all, there are peak hours when everybody is going to the office or everybody is coming back from the office. So you will consider a 2-hour window in the morning, 2-hour window in the evening. Okay, 4 hours. And then this calculation is fine for that 4 hours. Okay, first of all. Okay, secondly, then there are lean hours where there would be 10, 20 vehicles, not a lot. Okay, so let's actually start typing it out so that we can all, remember. So first I'm saying time of the day. Peak hours versus lean hours. Second, day of the week will also matter. Right? So weekend versus weekday. Third, when we are talking about vehicles, you took 100 vehicles. 100 vehicles are all giving 10 rupees. I would not take it like that. I will divide my vehicles also into 3 or 4 components. Say one is scooters or the 2-wheelers. Second is my 4-wheelers or cars. Right? Third would be trucks and the bigger vehicles, trucks and buses, etc. So 100 cars, the bifurcation is also there. If you're saying that 100 vehicles are available there, so then some of them are 2-wheelers, some of them are cars, some of them are trucks. Then what you'll do is say 2-wheelers is giving 2 to 3 rupees. Then cars are giving 10 rupees. Right? And then this contribution, we can assume some even lesser, say as a 5 rupees. Okay. So then you would bifurcate on the basis of the vehicle type. So time of the day, day of week, vehicle type, already 3 parameters you've considered. Okay. Then, of course, stoppage, time ke basis pe we can do the calculation. Another thing, of course, you got a number which was around 60K or something, but there are multiple beggars also available, right? So I'm saying on an average, there are 4 beggars available on a stop sign. So I will have to divide that number by 4 also, right? Because I have to find the average. So when I consider other beggars also who are available, so that number will automatically go down. Okay, so when you're talking about parameters, you should consider as many things as you can.
But the thing is, if I consider more parameter, it will increase my calculation.
Doesn't matter.
Margin of error.
So, yeah, it doesn't matter. You have to, in guesstimate, answers is other important, is the structure and the approach that you take to solve that problem. The interviewer is more concerned about the parameters you are considering. Okay, so please remember, of course, if your number is very large, see, your 60,000 number was very large. So I suggested that maybe there are more beggars. I can include that as a parameter and divide it. Right? So parameters, definitely you have to think of as many as you can and then present your structure to the interview. Okay, any doubts in this? There are a couple of more questions. Also, some very popular questions like number of refrigerators, guess the number of refrigerators, guess number of red Swifts in some city, guess the number of coffee cups being sold in a day. These kind of questions are very popular. So go to the internet, search for these problems, guesstimates. You will find a lot of examples which will really help you out a lot. Right? Anything you guys would like to discuss from whatever we've covered? So I'll quickly summarize. Okay, first of all, we spoke about the types of data analytics that are available. It's important to know that so that you can assess the kind of case study that you're getting and accordingly approach it. Secondly, when you're talking about RCA or guesstimate, it's important that you ask clarifying questions which are relevant to the topic. Suggest something from your side and then ask a clarifying question. It will create a bigger impact on the interviewer. Thirdly, create a structure in your mind. Take approval from the interviewer if they feel that the approach is correct, and then start diving deeper into your analysis that you're suggesting. Okay, and of course, we've practiced a couple of examples. Practice is the key. The more you practice, the more you will understand how to approach different kinds of problems. Lastly, please start observing the apps that are there. Try picking up apps from different industries. If you use Airbnb, if you use YouTube, you use Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever is there. Understand what all features are available at what point. You know, what do you do when you open WhatsApp? It's a reflex, right? You open WhatsApp to check your messages. But what are you doing? What and all are you doing? Where all do you press? Do you scroll? Remember, everything gets captured at the back end. So if you want to analyze and understand your own user journey, you should first know and be aware of the products that are in front of you. All right. So I hope the session was very useful for you guys, and all the best. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.